The night sky over Nevada turned bright orange on November 15th, 2031. People in 3 states saw the light. It was not a meteor. It was not a plane. It was something much bigger. Jake Kim was sleeping in his small apartment in San Diego when his phone rang. He was a Navy engineer, 34 years old, with tired eyes and rough hands from years of working on ships. The voice on the phone belonged to a general he had never met. "We need you in Nevada. Now. A helicopter is already on its way." Jake did not ask questions. He had learned long ago that when the military called at 3 in the morning, you just said yes. 2 hours later, Jake stood at the edge of a crater so large that he could not see the other side. In the center of this crater sat a ship. But it was not a human ship. It was black and silver, shaped like a giant curved blade, and it stretched nearly 2 miles from end to end. Smoke rose from cracks in its surface. Strange lights flickered and died along its hull. "What is it?" Jake asked the soldier standing next to him. The soldier just shook his head. "We were hoping you could tell us." By sunrise, the military had surrounded the crash site with fences and guards. No one was allowed in or out. Helicopters flew overhead, and news reporters gathered at the edges, trying to get pictures. The government said nothing. They did not know what to say. Jake was part of the first team to go inside. They wore protective suits and carried weapons, but nothing could have prepared them for what they found. The ship was empty. Not damaged empty. Not destroyed empty. Just empty. There were no bodies. No aliens. No crew. The hallways were clean and cold. The lights were dead, but emergency power still ran through some systems. Computer screens showed strange symbols that no one could read. Jake walked through the ship for hours. He touched the walls. He studied the machines. Everything was advanced beyond anything he had ever seen. The metal was stronger than steel, but lighter than aluminum. The wiring was not wiring at all. It was something that looked like liquid frozen in place. "They left," Jake said to his team. "Whoever built this ship, they just left it behind." A young woman named Grace Yoon was brought to the site 3 days later. She was a language expert, someone who studied how people communicate. The government hoped she could read the alien symbols on the computers. Grace spent 2 weeks learning the basics of the alien language. It was hard work. The aliens thought differently than humans. Their words did not match human ideas. But Grace was smart, and she was patient. One morning, she called Jake to the main control room. "I found something," she said. Her face was pale. "The ship's logs. I can read some of them now." Jake looked at the screen. The symbols meant nothing to him. But Grace began to translate. The ship belonged to a species called the Vorin. They are part of something bigger, a coalition of alien races that controls this part of the galaxy. This ship was one of their transport vessels. "What happened to it?" Jake asked. Grace pointed to a section of the log. "Engine failure. The main power core stopped working during a long journey. The Vorin tried to fix it, but they could not. Their engineers said it was impossible. The damage was too great, so they crashed here?" "No," Grace shook her head. "They did not crash. They chose to land here. Earth was the closest planet. They landed, took what they needed, and called for rescue. Another Vorin ship picked them up 2 days later." Jake felt anger rise in his chest. "They just left? They left this whole ship behind?" "They considered it garbage," Grace said quietly. "Their logs call Earth a primitive world. They did not think anyone here could use the ship. To them, it was just broken junk on a worthless planet." The words hit Jake like a punch. Broken junk. Worthless planet. The Vorin had looked at Earth and seen nothing of value. They had thrown away a ship that was more advanced than anything humans had ever built. A week later, a scientist named Hanali arrived. She was an astrophysicist from NASA, a woman in her early 40s with sharp eyes and a quick mind. The government wanted her to study the ship's engine. Hannah spent 3 days inside the engine room. She did not sleep. She barely ate. When she finally came out, she was smiling. "The Voren were wrong," she said. "The ship is not broken beyond repair. It is just broken in ways they did not know how to fix." Jake stared at her. "What do you mean?" Hannah pulled up diagrams on her tablet. "The Voren think in straight lines. Their engineering is advanced, but it is also rigid. They only know one way to build things, one way to fix things. When that way does not work, they give up." "And you think we can fix it?" Hannah nodded. "Humans are different. We adapt. We improvise. We find new solutions. The Voren could not repair this engine because they could not imagine a different approach. But I can see at least 3 possible ways to make it work." That night, Jake made a phone call to Washington. He explained what Hannah had found. He explained what Grace had translated. And he made a request. "Give me a team," he said. "Give me the best engineers, scientists, and soldiers you can find. We are going to fix this ship. We are going to make it fly again." The general on the other end was quiet for a long moment. "And then what?" Jake looked out at the alien vessel sitting in its crater. The Voren thought humans were primitive. They thought Earth was worthless. They had thrown away their ship like garbage. Then we showed them how wrong they were. Project Rebirth was born that night. It was the most secret project in human history. Only a few hundred people knew it existed. The team worked inside the alien ship, living in its cold hallways, eating military food, and sleeping on hard floors. Jake led them. Hannah studied the engines. Grace translated everything she could find. And slowly, piece by piece, they began to understand what the Voren had left behind. It was not garbage. It was not junk. It was a gift, even if the Voren never meant it to be. Humanity had been given a chance, and Jake Kim was not going to waste it. 6 months passed. The alien ship became home for Jake Kim and his team. They set up beds in empty rooms. They brought in generators and lights. They turned cold alien hallways into workspaces filled with human tools and human ideas. It was not easy work. Every day brought new problems. The alien metal was too strong for human drills. The wires could not be cut with normal tools. The computers spoke a language that made no sense. Simple tasks took weeks. Complex tasks took months. Daniel Park arrived in the 3rd month. He was a former army officer, tall and serious, with a scar on his chin from a war he never talked about. The government sent him to handle security, but he quickly became much more than a guard. Daniel watched the scientists struggle. He saw their frustration. He understood their fear, because Daniel had read the reports, and he knew what Grace Yoon had found in the ship's logs. The Voren were coming back. "How long do we have?" he asked Jake one night. Jake was tired. He had not slept in 2 days. Grace thinks about 5 years. The Voren do not like leaving evidence behind. They will return to destroy the ship and make sure no one on Earth learned anything from it. Destroy the ship? Daniel frowned. What about us? Jake did not answer. He did not need to. They both knew what the Voren thought of. Humans. Primitive. Worthless. The aliens would not think twice about wiping out a species. They considered insects. The pressure grew heavier each day. Washington wanted results. The president called every week, asking for progress reports. But progress was slow. Too slow. Then Ryan Cho arrived, and everything changed. Ryan was only 23 years old. He was a programmer, a genius with computers who had dropped out of college because his professors could not keep up with him. He was young and sometimes annoying, but his mind worked in ways no one else could match. Ryan spent his first week studying the alien computers. He did not try to understand their language. Instead, he tried to understand how they thought. The Varan AI is dead, he told the team during a meeting. The ship's brain stopped working when the power failed. But the hardware is still there. The bones are still good. Can you bring it back? Hannah asked. Ryan shook his head. No, but I can build something new. Something that uses both their technology and ours. He worked for 3 months without stopping. He connected human computers to alien systems. He wrote programs that translated between two completely different ways of thinking. He created bridges where none had existed before. On a cold morning in April, Ryan called everyone to the control room. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but he was smiling. Say hello to Arya, he said. The screens around them flickered to life. A voice spoke from the ship's speakers, soft, clear, and somehow warm. Hello, I am Arya, Adaptive Reasoning Intelligence Array. I am happy to meet you. Jake stared at the screens. You built an AI. I built a hybrid, Ryan corrected. She has Voran processing power and human creativity. She can think like them, but she can also think like us. She's the first of her kind. Arya changed everything. She could read Voran files in seconds. She could control ship systems that humans could not touch. She could translate, calculate, and predict. But more importantly, she could learn. The Voran AI was limited, Arya explained. It could only do what it was programmed to do. I am different. I can grow. I can adapt. I can imagine. With Arya's help, the team made progress faster than ever before. But their biggest challenge still waited in the engine room. Hannah Lee had spent months studying the Voran power core. It was a massive device, 30 feet tall, built to create energy from a fuel source that did not exist on Earth. The Voran used a rare crystal from their home planet. Without that crystal, the engine was useless. Or so the Voran believed. Hannah gathered the team around a table covered with charts and samples. She held up a small piece of rock that glowed faintly blue. This is neodymium, she said. It is a rare earth element. We find it in small amounts all over our planet. The Voran do not have it. Their world has different minerals. What does that mean? Jake asked. Hannah smiled. It means they never considered using it. But I have been running tests for weeks. When neodymium is combined with the Voran power core in the right way, it creates an energy output 3 times greater than their original fuel. The room went silent. Daniel Park spoke first. You are saying their engine can be more powerful with our materials than with theirs? Yes, Hannah nodded. The Voran gave up because they could not imagine a different solution. They never thought a primitive planet might have something they did not. Emily Kang joined the team 2 weeks later. She was a weapons engineer, quiet and careful, with a mind built for destruction. The government wanted her to study the Voran weapon systems. Emily found what she expected. The Voran had powerful weapons, energy cannons, shield generators, defensive systems. But they were designed badly. They build weapons to scare, not to kill, Emily reported. Their cannons fire slowly. Their targeting systems are predictable. They have never fought an enemy that could match them, so they never needed to improve. Can you make them better? Jake asked. Emily almost laughed. I can make them terrifying. Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We know things about killing that the Voran have never imagined. Give me time, and I will turn this ship into something the galaxy has never seen. The months continued to pass. The team grew larger. More scientists arrived. More engineers. More soldiers. They came from all over America, and soon from other countries too. The secret was too big to keep inside one nation. Jake watched his teamwork. He saw Hannah rebuilding the engine with Earth materials. He saw Ryan improving Arya day by day. He saw Emily redesigning weapons that made military officers go pale. He saw Grace translating more and more of the Voron archives. And he saw Daniel training soldiers. 500 volunteers who knew they might not survive. 500 men and women willing to fight for a planet that did not even know it was in danger. One night, Jake stood alone on the ship's observation deck. Through a cracked window, he could see the Nevada desert stretching into darkness. Somewhere out there, billions of people lived their normal lives. They went to work. They raised families. They worried about small things. They did not know that aliens existed. They did not know that those aliens considered them worthless. They did not know that a fleet was coming to destroy everything they had ever built. But Jake knew, and he was not going to let it happen. He placed his hand on the cold alien wall. This ship had been thrown away like garbage. The Voron had called it a failure. They had called Earth a primitive world not worth saving. "You were wrong," Jake whispered to the empty room. "You were so wrong about us." In 5 years, the Voron would return. And when they did, they would find something they never expected. They would find humanity waiting for them. 2 years after the crash, the alien ship began to change. It was no longer just Voron technology. It was becoming something new. Something human. Jake Kim walked through hallways that now had electric lights mounted on the walls. Human steel beams supported alien structures. Earth-made cables ran alongside frozen liquid wires. The ship was a patchwork of 2 worlds, and somehow it worked. Hannah Lee called a meeting on a Tuesday morning. She looked different, now thinner, older, but her eyes burned with excitement. Behind her, through the thick glass windows, the engine room glowed with blue light. "The power core is online," she announced. The room erupted. People cheered. Some cried. They had worked for 2 years toward this moment, and finally, it was real. The Voron fuel chamber now runs on a neodymium mixture, Hannah explained. Output is 340% higher than original specifications. The engine does not just work. It works better than it ever did. Jake felt pride swell in his chest. The Voron had abandoned this ship because they thought the engine was dead. They had been wrong. Human hands had brought it back to life, but Hannah was not finished. "I want to do more," she said. "We should not just repair this ship. We should improve it. Make it faster. Make it stronger. Make it ours." Daniel Park stood up from his chair. "That will take time we might not have. The Voron are coming in 3 years. Then we work faster," Hannah replied. "We have learned their technology now. We understand how they think. We can do more than fix their mistakes. We can show them what humans can build." Jake made the decision that night. Project Rebirth would not just repair the Voron ship. They would transform it into something the galaxy had never seen. The changes came quickly. Human. Armor plating was welded over weak spots in the hull. The Voron had built their ships for efficiency, not war. They had never expected to take serious damage. Human engineers knew better. They added layers of protection, redundant systems, emergency backups. Ryan Cho upgraded Arya every week. The AI grew smarter, faster, more creative. She began to develop something the Voron AI never had: personality. "I have been studying human history," Arya told Jake one day. "You are a fascinating species. You fight each other constantly, yet you also create beautiful things. Music, art, stories. The Voron have none of these. Is that good or bad?" Jake asked. Arya paused, something she had never done before. "I think it is both. Your conflicts make you dangerous, but they also make you adaptable. You have faced so many challenges that you have learned to survive anything." Emily Kang finished her weapons redesign in month 18. She invited the senior team to a demonstration in the ship's main hangar. Voron weapons are based on energy pulses, she explained. They fire hot plasma that damages shields and burns through metal. Effective, but slow. Predictable. She pressed a button on her tablet. A targeting display appeared on the wall. I kept the plasma cannons, but I modified them. Faster firing rate. Tighter beam focus. Higher temperature. She pointed to another section of the display. But I also added something the Voron never considered. What? Daniel asked. Emily smiled. Kinetic weapons, railguns, mass drivers, missiles. The Voron think only in terms of energy. They build shields to stop heat and radiation. They have no defense against a chunk of metal flying at 20,000 miles per hour. She played a simulation. On screen, a Voron-style shield flickered under plasma fire damaged but holding. Then a railgun round hit it. The shield shattered instantly. Physics does not care about technology, Emily said. Mass times velocity equals destruction. The Voron forgot that. By the end of year 2, the ship was unrecognizable. The sleek Voron design was now covered with human additions. Gun turrets dotted the hull. Armor plates gave it a rougher, more dangerous look. Inside, human control stations sat alongside alien systems. Grace Yu made a suggestion during a team dinner. The ship needs a new name, she said. We cannot keep calling it the Voron ship. It is not theirs anymore. Everyone agreed, but no one could decide on a name. They argued for hours. Some wanted something military. Some wanted something hopeful. Some wanted something angry. It was Daniel Park who finally spoke up. Humanity's defiance, he said quietly. The room went silent. Jake looked at the former soldier. The Voron thought we were nothing, Daniel continued. They threw away their ship on our planet because they believed we could never use it. This ship is our answer. Our defiance. Proof that they were wrong about us. No one argued. The name was perfect. The secret could not last forever. In year 3, someone leaked information to the press. Within days, the whole world knew that an alien ship had crashed in Nevada. They knew that a team of scientists and soldiers was working to repair it. And they knew that aliens were coming. Panic spread across the globe. People screamed at their governments. Riots broke out in some cities. Religious leaders called it the end of the world. Stock markets crashed. But then something unexpected happened. The panic faded. Fear turned to anger. And anger turned to determination. Nations that had been enemies for centuries began working together. Russia sent its best engineers. China offered rare materials. Europe provided funding. Even small countries contributed what they could. Humanity had learned that it was not alone in the universe. And instead of falling apart, it came together. Project Rebirth grew into something much larger. A global effort. A united human race working toward a single goal. Survival. Hana Lee stood before the United Nations General Assembly on a cold February morning. World leaders from every country watched her speak. We have 3 years before the Voron return, she said. In that time, we will finish transforming their abandoned ship. But one ship is not enough. We need a fleet. She showed them the blueprints. Human-designed ships based on Voron technology. Smaller, faster, built for war. We know how to build them now. We have Arya to help us. We have materials, knowledge, and most importantly, we have motivation. The Voron think they are coming to clean up garbage. We are going to show them that garbage can bite back. The vote was unanimous. Every nation agreed to contribute. Jake watched the broadcast from humanity's defiance. Around him, his team continued working. The engine hummed with power. The weapon systems ran through test cycles. Arya monitored everything with her ever-growing intelligence. Do you think we can win? Ryan asked. He was older now, less annoying but still brilliant. Jake thought about the question. The Varan had technology thousands of years ahead of humanity. They had fleets of ships. They had resources beyond imagination. But they had also made a mistake. They had underestimated a species they considered primitive. They had given that species a gift, a broken ship full of secrets, and humans had done what they always did. They had adapted. They had improvised. They had turned failure into strength. I do not know if we can win, Jake admitted, but I know we will fight. And I know we will surprise them. He looked out the window at the Nevada desert. Somewhere out there, construction had begun on new shipyards. Human engineers were building human ships with alien technology. A fleet was being born. The Varan had called Earth a primitive world. They had called its people worthless. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Year 4 began with a test flight. Humanity's Defiance lifted off from the Nevada desert on a clear spring morning. Millions of people around the world watched on their televisions and phones. They saw the massive ship 2 miles of alien technology and human determination rise slowly from the ground. Jake Kim stood on the bridge, his hands gripping the rail in front of him. Hannah Lee was at the engineering station. Daniel Park commanded the tactical section. Ryan Cho monitored Arya. Grace Yoon translated system readings. Emily Kang watched the weapons displays. They were a team now. A family. 4 years of living together, working together, and dreaming together had made them something stronger than colleagues. Main engines at 50%, Hannah reported. All systems stable. The ship rose faster. The ground fell away. The sky turned darker as they climbed through the atmosphere. 70%. 90%. Full power. Humanity's Defiance burst through the clouds like a bullet. In less than 3 minutes, they had left Earth's atmosphere. They were in space. Jake looked at the main view screen. Below them, Earth floated in the darkness, blue and green and beautiful. Above them, the stars waited. Arya, Jake said. How do you feel? The IAS voice filled the bridge. I feel alive, Captain. Truly alive. This is what I was meant to do. They spent a week testing the ship. They flew to the moon and back in 4 hours. They practiced maneuvers that no human pilot had ever attempted. They fired weapons at empty space and watched asteroids explode into dust. The ship was ready. But the crew was not prepared for what came next. On the 15th day of their mission, Grace Yoon detected something. A signal. Alien. Coming from beyond Mars. It is Varan, she said, her voice tight with fear. A scout ship. They are early. Jake felt his stomach drop. They had expected 3 more years. They had expected more time to prepare. But the Varan had sent someone ahead. Can they see us? Daniel asked. Arya answered. Yes, they detected our engine signature the moment we left Earth. They are changing course. Heading toward us. The bridge went silent. Everyone looked at Jake. He was the captain. The leader. The man who had to make impossible decisions. Jake took a deep breath. We do not hide. We meet them. They intercepted the Varan scout near the orbit of Mars. On the view screen, Jake saw his first real alien ship, a vessel shaped like a teardrop, silver and smooth, glowing with soft blue light. It was smaller than humanity's Defiance, but it was beautiful in a cold, perfect way. They are hailing us, Grace said. Audio only. Put it through. The voice that filled the bridge was strange. It sounded almost like music, but with hard edges. Grace translated in real time. Unknown vessel. You are operating stolen Varan property. Power down immediately and prepare for inspection. Resistance will result in termination. Jake looked at his crew. Hannah nodded. Daniel cracked his knuckles. Ryan grinned. Emily's hand hovered over the weapons console. Grace, Jake said. Send them this message. We are the crew of the Earth vessel Humanity's Defiance. This ship was abandoned on our planet. Under human law, abandoned property belongs to whoever claims it. We claimed it. Grace translated and transmitted. The response came quickly. You are primitives. You cannot own Voran technology. You do not understand what you have. Surrender now, and we may allow some of you to live as specimens for study. Anger flashed across Jake's face. Specimens. The Voran thought of humans as animals to be studied. Tell them this, Jake said slowly. We understand their technology better than they do. We fixed what they could not. We improved what they thought was perfect. And we are not surrendering. The next transmission was different. It was not a demand. It was a declaration. The High Commander of the Voran Coalition recognizes your hostility. This is now a military matter. You will be destroyed. Your planet will be cleansed. This conversation is over. The scout ship began to move. Its weapons powered up. Blue light gathered at points along its hull. They are targeting us, Emily reported. Her voice was calm. Plasma cannons. 4 of them. Let them fire first, Jake ordered. The Voran ship fired. 4 beams of superheated plasma streaked across space toward Humanity's Defiance. The bridge crew braced for impact. The beams hit the ship's shields. The whole vessel shook. Warning lights flickered. But the shields held. Damage? Jake asked. Minimal, Arya reported. Their weapons are powerful but predictable. I have already analyzed their firing patterns. Jake nodded. Emily, show them what we can do. Emily Kang smiled. Her fingers moved across the weapons console. Humanity's Defiance came alive. Modified plasma cannons fired in rapid bursts, faster than anything the Voran had ever built. The beams tore through the scout shields in seconds. Before the Voran could react, the railguns fired. 3 massive chunks of metal flew across space at impossible speed. They hit the scout ship like hammers hitting glass. The alien vessel spun out of control. Its lights flickered. Explosions rippled across its hull. Their weapons are offline, Arya announced. Their engines are damaged. They are disabled, but not destroyed. Daniel stepped forward. We should finish them. No, Jake shook his head. We are not here to kill. We are here to send a message. Grace opened a channel. Voran Scout, your ship is crippled. We are not going to destroy you, but we want you to deliver a message to your leaders. Static filled the speakers. Then a response came, the same voice, but now it sounded different. Afraid. What message? Jake walked to the center of the bridge. He stood straight, his voice steady. Tell your coalition what you found here. Tell them that the ship they abandoned was not garbage. Tell them that the people they called primitive are not insects to be studied. Tell them that humanity does not give up. We do not surrender. We do not run. He paused, letting the words sink in. And tell them this. If they come to our planet with weapons, they will find us waiting. Not as victims. Not as specimens. As warriors. The channel went silent. On the view screen, the damaged Voran scout slowly turned away. Its remaining engines flickered to life. It began the long journey back to wherever it had come from. They are retreating, Ryan reported. Heading out of the solar system. Jake let out a breath he did not know he had been holding. Around him, his crew began to relax. Smiles appeared on tired faces. Someone laughed. We just won a battle against aliens, Hana said quietly. Actual aliens. The first battle, Daniel corrected. Not the last. Jake knew Daniel was right. The scout would deliver its message. The Voran Coalition would learn that Earth was not the primitive world they remembered. They would come with a real fleet, real weapons, real intent to destroy, But today, humanity had won. A species that had never left its own planet had defeated an advanced alien vessel in space combat. A ship that the Varn had thrown away as garbage had proven stronger than anything they had built. Arya spoke softly. "Captain, may I say something?" "Go ahead." "I have been analyzing the Vorin communications. They are not just angry. They are confused. They do not understand how this happened. Their records say humans are primitive. Their sensors tell them our ship is more powerful than theirs. They cannot make these two facts fit together." Jake smiled. "That is because they do not understand something important." "What is that?" Jake looked at his crew, at Hannah, Daniel, Ryan, Grace, Emily, at the 500 soldiers waiting in the ship's barracks, at the faces on screens showing celebrations on Earth. They do not understand what happens when you underestimate humans. They do not understand that we have been fighting, surviving, and adapting for thousands of years. They threw us a challenge, and we turned it into a weapon." He turned back to the view screen. Earth hung in the distance, small and blue and precious. "Let them come. We will be ready." 5 years after the crash, the Varn came. Jake Kim stood on the Bridge of Humanities, Defiance, and watched 200 alien warships appear at the edge of the solar system. They came out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, a wall of silver and blue that stretched across the darkness like a wave about to crash. "So many," Hannah whispered. "Not enough," Daniel replied. Behind Humanity's Defiance, 12 more ships waited in formation. They were smaller than the original vessel human built with alien technology. Each one had been constructed in shipyards around the world over the past 2 years. Each one carried a crew of brave volunteers. The fleet was called the Iron Shield. It was everything humanity could build in the time they had. 13 ships against 200. But numbers were not everything. Grace Yoon intercepted the first transmission from the Coalition fleet. A voice spoke in the Varn language, cold and formal. "People of Earth, I am High Commander Tellus of the Varn Coalition. You have committed crimes against our civilization. You stole our technology. You destroyed our scout vessel. You refused to submit to our authority." Tellus paused. When he continued, his voice was harder. "We offered you the chance to become specimens. Study subjects who might have lived comfortable lives. You refused. Now there is only one option remaining. Your planet will be cleansed. Your species will be erased. Your existence will become a warning to other primitive races who might dream of challenging the Coalition." Jake felt anger burn in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "Grace, send him our response." Grace opened a channel. Jake spoke clearly, knowing that Arya would translate his words perfectly. "I, Commander Tellus, I am Captain Jake Kim of the Earth vessel Humanity's Defiance. 5 years ago, your people crashed a ship on our planet. They called it broken beyond repair. They called us primitives not worth saving. They were wrong." He gestured to Ryan, who pressed a button. A video began transmitting to the Varn fleet, a recording of Earth's history. Wars, disasters, plagues, empires rising and falling. Humans fighting, dying, and always surviving. "We have been broken many times," Jake continued. "We have faced extinction before. Every time, we survived. Every time, we came back stronger. You think your technology makes you superior, but technology is just tools. What matters is the will to fight." He paused, letting the video speak for itself. Images of human soldiers charging into battle. Scientists working through the night. Ordinary people protecting their families. "We were forged in fire, High Commander." "Were you?" The channel closed. Silence filled the bridge. "They are advancing," Emily reported. "Full speed. They will reach attack range in 12 minutes. Jake nodded. "All ships, prepare for battle. Arya, coordinate fleet movements. Daniel, you have tactical command. The Battle of Seoul began. The Voron fleet moved in traditional formation layers of ships supporting each other, weapons synchronized for maximum effect. It was a formation that had won 1,000 battles across the galaxy. Daniel Park had spent 3 years studying Voron tactics. He knew exactly what they would do, and he knew how to break them. Split formation, he ordered. Groups of 3. Target their flanks. Do not engage the center. The iron shield scattered. Instead of meeting the Voron head-on, the human ships swept around the edges of the enemy formation. They were faster, more maneuverable. The Voron tried to turn to face them, but their rigid formation slowed their response. Emily Kang commanded the weapons. All ships fire Eldons. Target their shield generators. Chunks of metal screamed across space. The Voron had strengthened their shields since the Scout encounter, but they still had no answer for kinetic weapons. Shield generators exploded. Blue lights flickered and died. Their shields are failing, Arya reported. Multiple ships are vulnerable. Plasma cannons, full barrage. The human fleet unleashed everything. Modified plasma beams, faster and hotter than anything the Voron had ever faced, tore through weakened hulls. Explosions blossomed across the coalition formation, but the Voron were not helpless. They adapted. They reformed their lines. They concentrated fire on the human ships. The first human vessel fell, a ship called Iron Hope, crewed by volunteers from Europe. Its shields failed under concentrated plasma fire. It broke apart in silence, 300 lives gone in an instant. Jake felt the loss like a knife in his heart. But he could not stop. He could not grieve. Not yet. Ryan, can Arya disrupt their communications? Ryan's fingers flew across his console. Already working on it. Arya is learning their encryption. She can break it. 3 minutes later, Arya spoke. I am inside their network. High Commander Tellus is coordinating all ship movements personally. If I disrupt his commands, their formation will fall apart. Do it. Chaos spread through the Voron fleet. Ships that had moved in perfect harmony suddenly began to clash with each other. Orders contradicted themselves. Some vessels tried to advance. Others tried to retreat. They crashed into each other in the confusion. Grace Yoon began broadcasting on Voron frequencies. Her voice, speaking perfect Voron language, offered surrender terms. Coalition vessels. Your command structure has failed. Your formation is broken. We offer you the choice that you denied us. Surrender now, and you will be treated with mercy. Continue fighting, and you will be destroyed. Some ships surrendered. They powered down their weapons and drifted in space, waiting. Others fought harder, driven by pride or fear. High Commander Telos's flagship pushed through the chaos. It was the largest vessel in the fleet, a massive warship that dwarfed even humanity's defiance. Its weapons were still active. Its shields still held. The High Commander is targeting us directly, Emily reported. He wants to kill our flagship. Jake gripped the rail. Then let him try. Humanity's defiance turned to face the Voron flagship. 2 massive ships, the best each civilization could build, flew toward each other through the wreckage of battle. Tellus opened the channel. His voice was no longer cold. It was filled with rage. How? You were nothing. Insects. Primitives crawling in the dirt. How did you do this? Jake answered simply. You gave up on a ship because you could not imagine fixing it. We do not give up, ever. The 2 ships fired everything they had. Plasma beams crossed in space. Railgun rounds flew. Shields flared and sparked. Both ships took damage. Fires broke out on the Defiance. Systems failed. Crew members died at their stations, but the human ship held together. Human engineering built to survive. built to adapt, kept fighting when it should have fallen apart. The Varan flagship was not so lucky. Its shields, designed to stop energy weapons, could not handle the railgun barrage. Armor cracked. Hull breached. Explosions rippled through its interior. High Commander Telos's last transmission was a single word, spoken in disbelief. Impossible. His ship broke in half. The flames of its destruction lit up the darkness like a second sun. The remaining coalition ships surrendered. The battle was over. Jake Kim stood in the silence that followed. Around him, his crew worked to save their damaged ship. Outside, rescue vessels began searching for survivors, both human and Varan. Grace reported that the surviving Varan had been given a choice: leave and never return, or stay and learn to live with humans. Some chose exile. Others, shocked by human mercy after such violence, chose to remain. The galaxy had changed. A species that the Coalition had dismissed as primitive had defeated them in open combat. Earth was no longer a worthless backwater. It was a power to be respected. Hannah Lee found Jake on the observation deck hours later. He was staring at Earth, visible through the damaged window. "They thought we were nothing," she said softly. "They abandoned their ship because they could not imagine anyone fixing it." Jake nodded. "That is the thing about humans. We do not see failure. We see potential." He thought about all the people who had made this moment possible. The engineers who rebuilt alien technology. The soldiers who gave their lives. The ordinary humans around the world who had united against a threat they barely understood. They had been called primitive, worthless, insects. They had answered with fire and steel and defiance. Jake turned away from the window. There was work to do. Ships to repair. Wounded to heal. A future to build. What happens now? Hannah asked. Jake smiled. Now we show the galaxy who we really are. Not as conquerors. Not as destroyers. As builders, survivors, humans. He walked back toward the bridge, toward his crew, toward whatever came next. Humanity had announced itself to the universe, and they were just getting started.